News 46. Local coverage you can count on.
Welcome to Semper Fi. I'm your host, Mark Bonstein, or as I was commonly referred to as Staff Sergeant B. Going to get to my guest in 1 second. First, we're going to do our usual what happened this day in U.S. military history. On August 25th, in the Army, Clara Mace, age 25, an Army nurse, sacrificed her life to prove that mosquitoes carried yellow fever. And in tribute to her, they named the hospital after her over in Newark, Germany. And in the Navy, in 1945, Vice Admiral William A. Changley Jr. dies of a heart attack at the age of 56. And then again in the Army in 1950, Major General F. Dean, 24th Infantry Division commander, was taken prisoner by North Koreans after ending the capture of a 46-day at the fall of Tijan. I hope that's the way you pronounce it. And in the Air Force in 2003, in southern Afghanistan, U.S. jets hit Taliban hideout, and at least 14 insurgents were killed. And for a change, nothing happened to Marines. But I guess on the 7th day, we took a break. So without further ado, my next guest served in the Marines, and she came in, and her name is Lisa Michael. Welcome to Semper Fi.
Thank you.
Okay, give us a little down and dirty about yourself.
Down and dirty. Well, I joined the Corps while I was still in high school. Delayed entry program would have been about 9 months. So almost as soon as the school year began.
And what year was this?
That would have been 83, 84 school year. I graduated in 1984. Great, now everybody knows how old I am, thanks. But because I was in delayed for so long, I was able to really study, the guidebook and be very knowledgeable by the time I got to boot camp. So it made it easy, but it also put me on the skyline. Did
it make you honor grad or
no? They picked me on day one at receiving to be the guide.
Really?
And as we all know, that guide lasts about a minute.
They go through a lot for they find out who they want.
You don't know how to knock on the hatch and do your report. So I think I stood there for 10 minutes when I finally said, "You're fired." Okay, I'm done.
So 83, you went to Paris Island?
1984, August.
84.
So right after graduation that summer. And nobody told me that, Paris Island in August is just, the garden spot of the world.
Where are you from originally?
Portland, Oregon.
Okay, so...
Wasn't used to humidity. So stepped off the plane with my little orders in my hand, looked at the girl next to me and said, "I'm going to die here."
Okay, we hear a lot about people talking about Marine training from a lot of the males. I don't get a lot of female Marines, so tell us a little bit about Paris Island female version.
Female version, especially my time, it was a time of transition where they were going from not having females on the rifle range do any kind of firing, having holding a weapon or working with weapons, to transitioning to basically we did what they call a familiarity fire, the FAM fire.
Okay.
Not really for qualification, but to get us used to the weapon, which that's like, okay, you didn't really teach us in boot camp, so then when we go to the FMF, now we have to qualify.
So they never took you to the range?
They didn't take it. They took us to the range, but only to
just
do...
a familiarization. You didn't
yeah.
do the... Did you still have to... were you still required to march and drill with them and do manual of arms?
Well, not manual of arms, because we weren't, not with the rifle. We had rifles, but we didn't do the manual of arms. We did just drill.
Okay.
But we had the weapon. No, they made us keep the weapons, clean the weapons, and do the fan fire. So I was like, okay.
And you fan fired only one time?
One time.
Some clean weapons.
Yeah, no, and then you clean that weapon for the rest of the time you're in boot camp. So
I bet nobody failed weapon inspection.
No, shouldn't.
You shoot it once, and how long was boot camp for you? 8 weeks?
I believe it was 11.
11 weeks?
11 weeks, yeah. Unless you got recycled, which a couple friends of mine got an extra, would have been an extra 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
You follow in the next platoon.
Yeah,
I managed to dodge that bullet.
So,
Training, a lot of classroom training, just like the males, everything except I don't think that the male Marines were taught poise and etiquette.
they taught you that? You're
They
kidding.
did. They said, you're in that uniform, you will act accordingly. So they even taught you, if you were smoking a cigarette, you didn't hold the cigarette. You would smoke your cigarette and you put it in the ashtray. You don't do a full facial at the table. When you're redoing your makeup after dinner or something, you can put your lipstick on. Anything above and beyond that, you had to go to the head. And no brushing the hair at the table, you know. It's things that are pretty much, I mean, seem common sense, but as a female, you're an image to the Marine Corps. And the other services don't have this, but when you're in your Greens, Charlies, dress blues, makeup is actually a part of your uniform.
Really?
So, you know, the Army and other services, they're like, oh, you can't wear makeup in camis. Well, makeup is a part of the uniform, at least when I went through. As a matter of fact, you're not going to believe this one. We had a makeup class. And there were some people who really needed the makeup class because they had never worn makeup and didn't know
Really?
how to apply it. And it's like, okay, this could get really scary really fast.
That's good.
But the thing is, I never wore eyeshadow. And they're like, because your eyes are blue, we're going to give you, and then they tell us we had to, you know, they would actually tell us what we had to buy. And I think they gave me some god-awful green. So my boot camp pictures, I'm like, I hate them. Hate them.
It was kind of like we used to go to the commissary or the PX, the little they tell you this is what you're buying.
Yeah, they march you through there, and it's like, okay, you need this. You need all these plastic hangers. It's like, you're just like, okay.
And at the end, the drill instructors, if you want to donate your irons, the drill instructors had 75 irons at the end of, you know, you give them up just to go to another unit, and you had to buy another one.
Right. You just didn't want to pack it, was what it was.
No, I wouldn't have minded taking it.
Yeah.
Had to go buy another one. So did you graduate guaranteed PFC or?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So I had my stripe when I left, which was nice. Being clean sleeve was just like, oh, I don't want to be clean sleeve.
Yeah, I was a slick sleeve when I graduated. You know, can you do?
I did mine through recruiting.
Yeah, I didn't know anything when I went to my recruiter.
Yeah.
Just open contract and took advantage of me. That was it, you know.
Well, I actually, believe it or not, requested comm. And my brother's like, yeah, I get it. A female on the phone. That's basically how he equated it. He's like, nah, I know why you went into comm. I'm like, yeah, okay. But I actually didn't intend to join the Marine Corps. I left school one day, so I was playing hooky, went down to the recruiting station, walked in. I actually was heading to, I believe I was going to talk to the Navy. And out of the Marine Corps recruiting office comes one of the guys from my high school. He's like, this kid was Joey, had an Italian name, and I can't remember it. Big, stocky little guy. You gotta come in here. I'm like, okay. I sit down with he's brand new recruiter. I didn't know, okay, I don't know nothing about this, right? I'm his first person he ever recruited. And I like sat down and like, it's like, you know, they went to the IBM School of Sales or something.
Yeah.
And they're good. They're real
they go
good.
to recruiting school over in
So
San
because
Diego.
I was only 17, they had to get permission from my parents.
Right.
Okay, so here I pull up in front of my parents' house with the Marine Corps recruiter with a big EGA on the side of it, and my mom is just staring daggers at me like, what have you done? You're bringing this guy here, so we make arrangements to be there when my dad is there. And my mom is just like not having it. And my father looks at her, he says, is this what you want? I said, yeah, Dad, it is. He says, sign the paper. And the rest is history.
Okay, so past graduation, you got your PFC, and your MOS was?
2531 radio operator.
Now, did you have to go to a formal school for that?
Yes. Went to 29 Palms.
For how long?
You know, I got there at the middle of November, and because I was there middle of November, there was a wait time because they were not having any classes
Okay,
until
so
after
almost like
Christmas.
picking up another platoon.
So basically what I did was clean the base pool. I worked for the chaplain. Basically all the, you know, little duties they have you go, or need a working party. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Paint the white
yeah,
rocks.
Paint the rocks, move the rocks, all that good stuff. Save turtles out of, you know, endangered, out of the training area. And then started school probably right after Christmas, maybe it'd been January, but school it was self-paced, which really surprised me. So you studied the material, you could test out, go the next course.
How many courses were there in this particular MOS?
I want to say some of them were around 11. Some of them were real easy, some of them, not. When they started getting more complex stuff, but they were self-paced. So if somebody, had a problem, they stayed in that class until they passed it.
Wow.
And I actually graduated so quickly. There was another advanced class that I wanted to get into, but they said, well, you're going to graduate. We got to send you out of here. If I'd waited and dragged my feet a little bit, I could have got into one of the other higher levels of comm. But I finished too soon. And then I requested Okinawa.
And you went over there?
And they sent me to Camp Pendleton.
Okinawa's in Pendleton. I didn't know that.
Well, back then there was they had a TO of how many women could be in Okinawa at any one time, especially with communicators. Mm-hmm. And so they said, well, we're tapped out. We don't have any space available, so we're sending you to Camp Pendleton.
And where'd you go in Pendleton? What area?
Main side. I was with headquarters company with 1st Marine Division.
So you carried the radio on your back?
Mm-hmm.
How heavy was the radio?
I want to say it's somewhere in the 25-pound range.
20, 30 pounds, 25,
yeah, but
30
we had other radios. We also, that was the 77 was the,
right.
It's the heavier man pack. We had a lighter man pack, which was a 104. And the 104 was much thinner but longer, and its was an AM versus the FM radio.
Now, with carrying the radio, was it like a machine gunner? We carried the M60, and then we had to carry spare barrel. Were you required to carry the spare batteries for the radios?
I don't remember carrying a spare, but
No.
usually it was like we're going out on a forced march or something, so one battery's going to last you.
Oh,
Would last you long enough through 4 hours.
what was the life expectancy of a battery?
Depends on the heat.
Oh, really?
29 palms, it was much shorter.
Really drain it out.
Yeah, we go through batteries like nobody's business in the stumps.
That's what made me would think that you would carry extra ones. Like I said, we used to have to carry a spare barrel. Right. So after you shot so much, you took the mittens and took the barrel off.
It would all depend on how long you're going to be wearing it, because we're headquarters battalion. We didn't march a whole lot. Most of our stuff was vehicle mounted.
Oh.
Yeah, we had back when I first went in, it was the M151. So we'd have an M151, and we'd have Mark 110s. Mark 110s were used for retrans. You'd have radio on one side and the radio on the other side. You set this one to one frequency, set this one to another, and then you put the retrans switch on, and now you can communicate over mountains.
Almost like a repeater.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. So get a cup of coffee and join us, and we'll be right back.
Left foot, left foot, left foot. No right, the jump. No right, lay up. I left the right, the jump. I left the right, lay up. No right, lay up. No right, lay up. Left the right, the jump. I left the right, lay up. No right, left foot, left foot, left foot. No right, the jump. No right, lay up. I left the right, the jump. I left the right, lay up. No right, lay up. No right, lay up. Left the right, the jump. I left the right, lay up. No right, lay up.
Hi, welcome back to Semper Fi. We're talking to my host, Marine Lisa Michael, who is now stationed in Okinawa, Camp Pendleton. So when they sent me to Okinawa, I went to Okinawa. I didn't know of one at Camp Pendleton. I wish I would have known. So, all right, so you were at main side on Camp Pendleton.
Yes.
And how long were you there for?
I actually never went anywhere. At that time I was there till my enlistment ended.
Really? You never went overseas?
No,
Wow.
Camp Pendleton, and in the same company, the same platoon.
For how many years?
When I got there, it was 1980. Well, I went in 84, April of 85 until August of 88.
Wow, 88. And that's when you got out?
I got out and went inactive for a year. Then I went in the reserves, and I was in 29 Palms, so then I was at 29 Palms for many years. The other garden spot of the world.
Well, you just got lucky with that
I
place,
know.
didn't you? Well, every time we went to 29 Palms, it was one of the little joint operations over at Camp Wilson.
Combined arms exercises.
Yeah.
I did many of those.
Yeah, we got stuck over there a lot, over at Third Tracks. So, Between the two, which was your best duty station?
Really?
Palms or
I mean, people are going to think I'm crazy. I like the Palms better.
why was that?
It was a different feel. I mean, at Camp Pendleton, everybody's, you're going to the mall, you're doing this, you're doing that. There's lots to do. So, when, Friday came, boom, everybody's gone. At 29, we're hurting for, entertainment. So what we would do, we'd have a lot of barbecues, a lot of gatherings. I used to have Pictionary and what we called it Pictionary and Chablis night at my house.
Chablis night.
Chablis. And, but so we were a lot tighter group, and I liked it better there.
Okay. Any good stories that you can think of?
Oh, I can think of, and I told you this story before, so act like you're hearing it for the first time. 1986, they had a unit who had been deployed had come back. That was Kilo Company 11 out of Horno. And somebody got the wild idea, well, let's invite the women from like headquarters and FSSG and some of the squadrons. So they put the word out. My OIC says, do you want to go on this? And I said, yeah. So I and two other women from my platoon said, yeah, we'll go. So they bus us over to Horno, and we join up with the infantry, and these guys are like, what's going on here? So they take us to Long Beach, and that's where we got on the USS Pelican.
Okay.
Now this isn't a long, time on a ship, but it's 10 days, but these people were so not used to having women around that it was like, they didn't know how to act. So they put us there were 5 of us, and they put us in a 250-man berth, which means there was a lot of space. And the first night we were in port, I don't think I left the ship. I may have, but I don't remember it. One of my girls wakes me up. She's, Corporal, wake up. I'm like, what? She's like, there's a man in here. I'm like, no, there's not. She says, yes, there is. And I said, oh, jeez. So I get up. I said, where is he? He was in the rack next to me. And I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So I go up to this guy. I look at the hair, so I know he's Marines, not Navy. So I said, wake up, Marine, wake up. He wakes up kind of half groggy. And I said, Marine, you're in the wrong place. You got to get out of here. He goes, no. It is the wrong place. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking, do I let him sleep it off here, or do I get him out of here? I said, I know that if I try to pull him out of that rack, I'm going to have dead weight hitting the deck, and he's going to get injured. So I open the hatch and look up the ladder well, and I'm thinking, oh, there's a Navy guy right there. And I say, help, can you help me with something? He turns around, and it's the officer of the day. And I was like, did not want to get this kid in trouble, because I know he's just drunken on autopilot. And he comes down, I'm like, okay, he hasn't done anything, it's all cool. So he gets the Marine and scurries him off to his own berthing area. And the next morning, the colonel, the gunny, and everybody are knocking on the door saying, okay, the Marine was there. And I said, he did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. He just, did his little autopilot thing and got in his rack. That's probably his rack from when they were deployed for 6 months. And then they well, okay, that's fine. And then the kid comes to the door. He's like, I need my wallet. My wallet's in there. So I said, okay, I'll go look. I don't find it. I said, I can't find it. So he leaves, comes back about 30 minutes later. He says, really, I think it's, I said, then get in here and get it. He goes, oh, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. I said, it's an order. Go find your wallet. He found his wallet.
And it was?
Under the mattress, dead, like right in the middle. And having not been, on ship and knowing that that's how guys keep their money, I didn't look far enough, but he found it.
That was good. You had one other story I think you were trying to tell me that day. I thought you had 2.
Trying to remember what that is.
Well, it might come to you, but in the meantime, you brought a citation, and what were these?
This is my Navy commendation, and basically what the Navy commendation was for was my work during the CAXes. I worked in logistics, and I handled everything that came on the base. It was just, I think it was me, I had a lance corporal, and a warrant officer that I worked for. And we checked in every single piece of equipment, radios. I was getting up on flatbed trucks and checking in 5 tons and Humvees in like 120-degree heat. And the main thing was, it was the tracking to make sure we didn't lose anything and sending it home. Well, basically, we came up with a really good load plan. Instead of, when they would send the stuff in, we would get a full tractor trailer, we'd open it up and have 1 pallet in it. So the way they sent it in was so expensive, we turned it around and saved on the return trip $250,000
Really?
by doing load plans where we would put, say we have 3 different Humvees. Each of the Humvees go to a different unit.
All right.
This would be the last one, this would be the first one's on the back end, so we did drop-off points. So we'd contract the trucks to, hit different locations, and saves a lot of money, because it's only, like, was back then, they charged us for a stop, like $150.
Really?
So it saved a ton of money.
So you got a certificate of accommodation, and along with the Navy accommodation, and that
Those
is
two go together, yeah.
hand in hand. That's pretty good. Did you ever take your radios down to, I want to say 22 area, right by Warehouse Row?
Yes.
To El Maco, was it called?
Yes.
You did a lot of your business out there?
Well, I did a lot of business with them when we converted from the M151 to the Humvee. We had to remove all our radios from the M151s and have them put into the Humvee. So I had a lot of busted knuckles for weeks because, they sent us the Humvees. They sent them chassis with everything in a box. So your doors, your side mirrors, everything had to be put on. So we had the lovely experience of doing that. And we had 36 comm vehicles. I turned it off. He's looking at me like he's not going to turn that off. Great.
Well, minor distraction, don't worry about it.
So there was 36 of those, and we had to, different configurations.
Okay.
We had the 138, the 110s, and then we had troop vehicles too. So each one was done up a little differently.
Now, how long would the average to
Put it together?
Yeah. How many hours are you looking at? A 1 hour day or?
No, it even with like 4 or 5 of us on that, it would take us a good day to put a vehicle together.
Really?
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff wasn't made to fit as usual.
No, door handles didn't. I don't know if you experienced the Humvees when
Yeah.
within a month, if that, you couldn't get the door handles to latch, and we were jerry-rigging them.
We used to have little punji cords, wrap it around and
Yeah,
hook.
you just remove the handle, throw it away, and
or take the doors off.
The doors
and-
off, right?
Yeah,
right.
when it first came out, they were always showroom, but then as soon as you bounced around a few days, that was the end of them.
And nobody knew how to drive because they're 80-something. They're very wide, and
Yeah.
nobody knew how to really drive them. So even if you had your government driver's license, there were people who were going over the curbs. They were backing into other vehicles in the motor pool. So it was like, they weren't pristine for very long,
Yeah,
especially with Marines.
They were looking at me saying, "You're a sergeant. You want to go through Humvee school? Why?" I says, "Why not? I said, everybody else is getting to go. I was on one of the first classes when the Humvee first came out, and I got to drive up the Smoky Mountains of Pendleton and go down, and so I knew all about the extra wideness, and it was a lot of fun to drive.
I actually enjoyed driving those. 29 Palms, another combined arms exercise where I was with the intelligence officer. They had me as his radio driver, and this warrant officer was in an M151, and there was this boulder field that took you up to a high point, and the captain says, "Let's go up there." And I'm like, "This is nothing but boulders." He's like, "But you can do it." And I'm like, "Okay, please make it in order, because if we trash this Humvee, I don't want to be responsible." And that thing was like a cat. It just climbed those boulders, no problem. Warrant officer in the M151, he tried to follow me. He didn't fare so well.
He didn't roll it though, did he?
No, he didn't roll it, but he high-centered, so they had to, rock it and get it, He was competing with me the whole time. And I'm like, you're not going to win. But then we left that high point, and we had Artie firing over our head, and impact zone was just kind of below us. And he says, "Okay, we need to go on the main MSR road, get us to the next point." So, okay. So we get down there, and we drive, and one of the impacts was really close to the road. So then we're up on I'll call it OP left, which is part of OP Crampton, which is one of the highest points in the Delta Corridor. And I'm messing with the radio, and he's at the back of the vehicle. He's like, "Corporal, come here." I was like, "Yes, sir." He goes, "What's that sound?" I said, "That would be the sound of our tire going flat, sir." I picked up a piece of shrapnel when we were driving near the impact zone. And I thought he was going to faint. He's like, "So you got a spare, right?" I'm like, "There's no spares in the Humvee." "What?" I go, "It's called a run flat."
Yeah.
He's like, "What's that mean?" I go, "What that means, sir, is we can drive, so many miles an hour for so many miles."
Right.
He says, "So that'll get us back to main side." Yes. But what I found is when you're on a run flat, you can't drive on a hard surface road. It just, you couldn't control the vehicle. So I'm like, "I'm sorry, sir, we're going into the tank trails." And the tank trails of 29 Palms are just to the one side of the road, but they're like this. So I'm having a good time, and he was about ready to throw up.
Make him seasick.
Yeah.
Thought he was back on ship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you were on ship, you said you docked. Where did you go?
San Francisco.
Okay, and how long were you there for?
Yeah, we were there 3 days. There was a concert. It was Fleet Week, so it's all the celebration and everything.
Okay.
It was cool. I enjoyed it. The hardest part was coming into San Francisco Bay, because where you have the bay water trying to go out to the ocean and the ocean coming in, that boat was moving,
Really?
bouncing like you could not believe. I was trying to pass a sailor in the corridor, and we're trying to figure out the motion of this ship and how we would pass each other without like falling on each other. And I just started laughing so hard.
It was funny, yeah. You get
Yeah,
to.
he's like, "I don't know what to do here." And then I had to go up the ladder well, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, the ship's going down now, then I'll go up. And did I make it to the top before it started back? No. That was my plan, but it didn't work out.
It was funny. I was in the bottom of the Bellow Woods. It was the same way. It was down there. That as you don't feel nothing down there.
Then as you start moving up, yeah.
The pendulum effect. Once you get up there, everything's going. Well, Jeff has given me the high sign that we're coming down to our last minute.
Okay.
So I want to thank you for being on the show, and I'd like to give you one of my Semper Fi chips.
Thank you.
And just like everybody else, I thank Lisa for being on. You have a story. I want to hear it, and I want to share it with everyone else. So till next week, have a good week, and we'll see you here. Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
Thank you for being
Thank
on.
you.